Welcome everyone to our episode 109. We are here in our podcast, davidortegab, and we are going to talk about health and in particular metabolism and how this complex of mTOR is the best patrolling system inside of you, and how these cells, how these cups inside of your cell are constantly sensing your environment, sending the right signals, communicating in a language that everyone understands, and how an intelligent internal city works inside of you. So we are going to talk about living longer, enhancing your muscles, and how this mTOR complex that I'm going to define what is mTOR is working inside of you. To talk about this topic, I used two articles from two of the best journals. One is from the authors Liu and Sabatini from 2020, mTOR at the Nexus of Nutrition, Growth, Aging, and Disease. And this is from Nature Reviews, Molecular Cell Biology. And the other one is Wei, Liu, and Chen, and is from 2019. And this is the roles of mTOR signaling in tissue regeneration, and is from the Journal of Cell. So both journals are extremely good to review this information. And this topic is really amazing. It's just almost like magic inside of your body. So what is the definition of mTOR? mTOR is also known as a mechanistic target of rapamycin. Rapamycin is an antibiotic. I'm going to define each of these terms very detailed. So this is like a traffic cop inside of our cells. It helps to regulate various cellular processes. Imagine it as a switch, as a really intelligent sensing system that can turn on or turn off activities related to cell growth, to metabolism, and to repair of your cells. When mTOR is active, it tells the cell to go and to send the message and carry out the processes, these processes. And when it is not active, it is like a stop signal, and it says, it's okay, I don't need these processes right now. I need to store energy to repair other systems. And it's just a fine-tuning mechanism that is essential for maintaining the balance of different functions inside of your cells. And it is involved in processes like muscle growth, healing, and aging. So this is the magic of mTOR. The mTOR pathway integrates diverse set of environmental cues such as growth factor signals, nutritional status, direct eukaryotic cell growth. Over the past 2.5 decades, mapping the mTOR signaling landscape has revealed a lot of functions of this very wise complex. And mTOR controls the biomass accumulation and metabolism by modulating key cellular processes, including protein systems and autophagy. Given the pathway's central role of this in maintaining the physiological homeostasis, the dysregulation of mTOR and the signals of mTOR has been implicated in metabolic disorders, in neurodegeneration, in various types of cancer, and in aging. So what is the discovery and what is the history of mTOR? It is also known because of this pharmacological drug, rapamycin, and it was discovered in 1964 by researchers that discovered that rapamycin from a soil bacterium on Easter Island in Chile, this macrolide or this peptide or this protein complex, and this compound was initially known for its antifungal properties. What is antifungal? So it kills the fungi inside of your inside of cells in the environment. It wasn't until the early 1990s, so not too long ago, that the scientists unraveled its mechanism of action. Rapamycin was found to bind to an isomerase that is, I'm going to mention a lot of acronyms, a lot of letters, a lot of complex, let's say, names, but don't worry about that. Worry about the action. It doesn't really matter too much the name, it matters more the action. So this compound that was found was FKBP12. So it's a lot of protein complexes, and that inhibits cell growth and proliferation. That's why it was discovered first for the properties in terms of stopping the uncontrolled cell growth that is involved in many, many cancerous processes. Subsequently, mTOR or the mechanistic target of rapamycin was identified as the central protein targeted by this compound. that is, rapamycin is an antibiotic exhibiting potent anti-tumor and immunosuppressive activity. And this rapamycin is used in various clinical settings to prevent rejection in organ transplantation and to treat certain types of cancer. What is the central role of mTOR? It is located at the intersection of various signaling pathways. You will see how it looks. It's just like a subway complex map that is constantly patrolling and sensing the environment. And it's a critical player in regulating cell growth, coordinating cellular processes based on energy and nutrient availability. This is extremely important. It senses the availability of nutrients. So the more you eat, the more times you are constantly indulging yourself in eating mostly sugars and processed food and all of those toxic things, you are going to create the dysregulation of this system. The dysregulation pathway can lead to diseases including cancer, including aging-related pathologies, and including metabolic disorders. So it's extremely important that you control all of these things, because you are really just damaging your body by overeating or not eating at the adequate amount, or just snacking. So these mTOR signaling landscapes review and analyzes many of these chemical language, and many factors that regulate the activation and downstream effectors that execute. And it has also been discovered that the interaction between mTOR and the lysosomes are small structures inside of the cell, small organelles inside of the cell that have a lot of enzymes and help in the destruction of many proteins and compounds, peptide compounds that your body doesn't need, but your body recycles a lot of things and doesn't waste anything. Is the most intelligent city inside of you. So that facilitates the rapid mobilization of nutrients during stress or starvation. Remember here, stress was a key word. So furthermore, this mTOR will be used now in potentially treating various conditions such as metabolic diseases, neurodegeneration, cancer, and aging. So how does this mTOR is regulated by the protein synthesis? Well, this mTOR has two big complexes that are bind together. One is mTOR1 and mTOR2. So these mTOR are going to regulate the protein synthesis in an energy-intensive processes in growing cells, and it is tightly controlled by mTOR, promoting the protein synthesis by phosphorylating proteins like eukaryotic initiation factor and the kinases and many other factors that are constructing this phosphorylation signaling mechanism. We need this phosphorylation because we bind phosphate, not phosphorus. Phosphate, which is phosphorus and oxygen, and the bonds of these two elements create or have a lot of energy, internal energy. When they are breaking, when they break down, they liberate a lot of energy, and these phosphorylation processes inside your cell release a lot of suppressive action of these factors on the translation and on the interpretation, that is also transcription, enhancing many of the translation and interpretation of the messenger RNA. The messenger RNA is the message of your hardware, is the software interpretation, is how it can be translated in order to understand the proteins and how your body will construct amino acids first and then binding those amino acids proteins. So that's how it works. mTOR and the biomass accumulation, as cells grow in size, they require lipids for membrane biogenesis and energy. So mTOR also plays a very strict and very crucial role in driving lipid synthesis through transcription factors such as the esterol, which comes from many of your hormones and from cholesterol, regulatory element binding proteins. These proteins also signal many synthesis of your nucleotides. What is the nucleotide? A nucleotide is compound, a molecule that it is needed to construct your hardware, your DNA. The 4 letters of the DNA are constructed with these nucleotides, or are the nucleotides. And you need that in order to repair your cells, in order to send the correct messaging system, the messengers, and in order to create the proteins that your body is going to require. So factors, transcription factors such as ATF4, for example, and promoting phosphorylation and activation of enzymes involved in nucleotide biosynthesis. So this mTOR activates or shifts the cellular metabolism and controls the fate also of glucose, regulating the transcription factor hypoxia inducible, which is HIF1 alpha. That factor H1F alpha senses this hypoxia and this regulation and the fate of glucose, and enhances glycolysis so that the glucose is break down into smaller pieces and diverts this glucose away from oxidative phosphorylation and increases the flux of many other pathways. One of them is also the pentose phosphate pathway. What is a pentose? Is 5 carbons sugars, and these 5 carbon sugars are also used to control lipid synthesis, fat synthesis, and also to control the nucleotide synthesis, so your hardware repair. So that provides many precursors for this lipid and nucleotide synthesis and enhances translations, fine-tunes translations of many mitochondrial pieces of information, increasing the cell's ATP production capacity. So it enhances your mitochondria to produce more energy and quality of energy that you will need for several processes inside of your body. Another thing that mTOR is doing is being used in pharmacological clinical trials and in prevention of disease. How it prevents diseases? Well, as it is regulating protein synthesis, lipid synthesis, glucose sensing systems, it helps to prevent obesity and type 2 diabetes. And it allows the cells to have rhythm and a constant speed in the metabolic cycles, in the destruction and in the production of many molecules in the body, and improves the response to insulin. So many pharmacological interventions are the target of this mTOR and the reverse effects in the diseases. For example, metformin, which is a drug to control diabetes type 2, suppresses mTOR, activating the AMPK pathway and the TSS pathway or complex, and those inhibition of the mTOR, like rapamycin, functions to repair severe insulin resistance. So it also will help and enhance the use of glucose and allow the insulin to work in a much better way. So mTOR and the brain physiology and neurodevelopment also, it is very, very important, including in many microcephaly diseases, the improper differentiation of neurons, the abnormal brain follicle extension, and the text and the text that is being interpreted highlights also neurodevelopment disorders known as mTORpathies. That's the name of these diseases, and they result in hyperactive mTOR signaling due to loss of function and mutation and negative regulators in many disorders that include epilepsy, macrocephaly, and autism. So it is extremely important to regulate your brain health and brain function, and regulates diverse functions in the brain, including the plasticity of your synapses, learning, and memory. So it is extremely important in learning and memory, promotes local translations and synapses, and it is crucial for dendritic remodeling. What is this dendritic remodeling? Many of these extensions of the neurons have to be paired accordingly in order to receive the message and extend and make more plasticity inside of your brain, and creating more learning pathways and allow your memory to consolidate. So this mTOR influences many of these synaptic protein and density of these connections. It enhances the connections. It allows the production of more proteins for the brain, and it activates improving cognitive performance, memory in many disease states, such as depression or autism disorders. In aging, mTOR also participates in aging. mTOR activity and aging is now recognized as a major driver of aging process. And aging is defined as a progressive decline in physiological function that increases vulnerability to disease and to death. Genetic inhibition of this mTOR pathway, as well as treatment with rapamycin, has been shown to extend the lifespan of various organisms, including in yeast, nematodes, flies, and mammals, and humans, of course. Importantly, these interventions extend the health span and the quality of life, suggesting that the inhibition of mTOR may not only increase the lifespan, the time that you're going to live, but the quality of your life in your old age. The role of mTOR in sensing molecular changes is that dietary restriction, not eating too often, and extending your period of fasting reduces this nutrient intake without being malnutrition, extends the lifespan, and it is thought to counter aging processes acting through this mTOR pathway. This dietary restriction and mTOR inhibition have similar effects on the lifespan, suggesting that restriction in protein synthesis may play a vital role in anti-aging. Why? Because just make the analogy of busy people inside of a company that are just working, trying to comply with a schedule, but not really being productive. They are just there. They are not really producing. They are not really motivated. They are just trying to comply with the schedule, but they are not doing productivity and quality of work. Now, imagine a company that allows employees to have space and time to relax, to exercise, and they work by project delivery systems. And they deliver things, deliver quality of work, deliver many of the production chain systems or work that needs to be in the chain supply of the company, but they are living quality of life. What is better? A company that is just focuses and that has a mindset, a narrow mindset of employees that are overworking or having their 12 hours of work and controlling them and not letting them have a space to have life, or a company that understands that we are humans and we are not just made of sitting hours and working just without direction and accumulating stress and just not delivering anything. Well, this is the analogy of this mTOR system. When you allow time, when you are not overeating, when you are exercising, when you are sleeping well, all of these environmental changes, lifestyle changes that you are doing are going to affect, are going to regulate this complex of mTOR. And with that space inside of your cells, you have time to deliver the correct message, to deliver a more quality in your language, in your chemical language, and that prevents oxidative stress, accumulation of harmful metabolic byproducts, and that results in improvements in cellular function. Also, many autophagy processes, which is the destruction of the cells because they are no longer working correctly and properly. But as I mentioned, your body doesn't waste anything. It recycles and it occupies many of these small molecules and peptides, and all of these destruction processes have a purpose. And these autophagy systems allow the capacity to degrade these obsolete or damaged cellular components, and it will be very efficient if you have this dietary restriction, and if you have time between your meals, and if you have time to sleep, and if you have time to exercise, and if you have time to release your stress and meditate, journal, interact in your social environment, and do all of those things that we as humans have to do. So at the tissue level effects, mTOR has an hyperactivity and contributes to the exhaustion of stem cells pools in aged organisms, hindering tissue self-renewal. So allows many of these cell pools of aged organisms to complete these autophagy processes, and it enhances the tissue repair and renewal because it has times. And also enhances and the chemical language to secrete pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are small molecules of proteins. This is just a chemical language that will exacerbate age-related decline in fitness and tissue function. So it regulates the production of these pro-inflammatory cytokines. And this dietary restriction works very similar to the rapamycin consumption of this drug. So the roles of mTOR in skeletal muscular regeneration is extremely important because the muscle has a capacity to quickly, after severe damage, repair and maintain a physiological homeostasis. Your muscles are not just aesthetics. Your muscle is important because it releases a lot of chemical substances and many signals for satellite cells, for cops that are patrolling your whole cellular system, your whole metabolic system, and they are considered muscle stem cells. They play a crucial role in muscle regeneration after injury, repair of your tissues, and the satellite cell activation are activated after any muscle injury, leading to proliferation of these cells, and they self-renew, they differentiate in myoblasts, which are cells of your muscles, and express many markers and many substances that are going to be released, many of them to your brain and to the metabolic activity, and enhance also the regulation of glucose and all of these systems that you can occupy to repair and regulate many of your metabolic pathways. There is also muscle regeneration. If you have more muscle, you have more release of these compounds, chemical compounds, and you are also allowing your body to have a regulation of fat tissue. And you are going to allow more the oxidation of fats if you have more muscle mass, and you will have many processes activated, such as the differentiation of these satellite cells, muscle regeneration, and blocking the formation of pro-inflammatory compounds. So downloading the pro-inflammatory signals. So these mechanisms of mTOR are key to regulate the muscle differentiation, and they are also involved in tissue level effects that can lead to exhaustion of these cells that are no longer working, and enhancing the tissue repair. What are the pathways that are being regulated during this muscle injury and regeneration of various pathways, such as AKT, mTOR pathway, P70, and all of many technical names, and they regulate calcium influx, so mineral sensing influx, insulin growth factors, so the receptors that sense insulin and allow glucose to enter into the cells to be occupied for energy production, and to avoid or prevent the accumulation of glucose in your tissues and the eventually development of type 2 diabetes, and they activate the autophagy processes. And in many pathological conditions, muscle regeneration is crucial, including conditions like sarcopenia, diabetes, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and aging processes. It regenerates the capacity of your muscle, and leucine supplements can also improve this regeneration of this tissue, muscle tissue. And it has been used also in clinical trials for treating muscle wasting, and there is in research many drugs targeting this mTOR mechanism, which has to be studied yet, but two very, very, very simple things that you can do in order to improve these mTOR abilities and skills and sensing systems are doing exercise and allowing your body to have time to use the nutrients and to start fasting more. And fasting more means 12 hours up to 14 hours. Those are the most recommended time to have fasting periods for regular people. And if you want to go beyond, that also helps 16 or 18 hours of fasting in an intermittent way, and having just 3 meals during your days. All of those things are going to help you in your life to have much more time to allow these processes to be controlled and regulated. Now, let's see in visual form how this sensing system of mTOR works. Just watch here the amount of processes and imagine that you are in, for example, a subway map station. In any big city, you can have these maps of a subway. And look at here how the amino acids are being sensed in this membrane space, and how it will activate many of the cascades that are going to start regulating energetic stress, hypoxia, DNA damage. Insulin is another molecule that is going to be extremely important in sensing the environment. Insulin is released if you consume glucose or carbohydrates in general, and this insulin receptor activates insulin mechanisms. Glucose enters into the cells and starts activating these cascades and activating the other mTOR path, and this starts activating other signals that are going to control eventually the regulation of energy production. Why we don't have too much energy production? Energy production such as GTP or ATP, which are the two coins of your cells, the two energetic coins of your cells, you need a lot of energy in order to produce that kind of compounds also. And you are going to regulate many processes such as the amino acid, also occupation, which are being liberated by autophagy processes. When you destroy these cells that are no longer working and you occupy the components, you liberate a lot of amino acids. And now you use many of these amino acids to produce intermediary compounds that should be produced from glucose or from carbohydrates. But as you are fasting, or as you are having more time in your body, inside of your body, to regulate these processes, you are controlling this amino acid influx and efflux so that your body occupies all of the energy and all of the compounds for the proper actions and pathways. Growth factors are being controlled. The plasma membrane is sensing also the cytokine factors, this TNF. This is another cytokine that is inflammatory. So many of these processes are being regulated in order to down-regulate the inflammation processes. This is just technical things, technical pathways and cascades of our chemical language translated into your body, into what happens inside of your body. Let's look at first when you are eating too much or more than these 3 times per day, and you are not allowing your body to regulate the amount of food and compounds and molecules. What happens? There is a hypertrophy. There is a lot of this glucose uptake and glycogen synthesis, but sometimes it's so much that glucose will accumulate and you won't have time to uptake all of this glucose. So you activate lipogenesis due to the accumulation of too much glucose, leads to the fat storage and the production of fat through sugar sensing mechanisms. Glycogen synthesis in excess is not good also. In the adipose tissue, what is happening is fatty acid import, so you will have more fatty acids, adipogenesis, the production of fat, but this kind of fat that is being produced because of an excess of nutrients, it's going to be the one that surrounds many of your organs, and it is the visceral fat that is not good for your body. And it is an impairment of the glucose uptake as it is too much, and insulin is going to be released time after time after time until you create insulin resistance. What is happening here? The inhibition of this mTOR and suppressing of this activity by fasting, by allowing time to use the proper amount of food. So in the muscle, there is a protein breakdown that helps to start using now amino acids to the production of energy, because many amino acids that are known as gluconeogenic amino acids are used for the production of energy. There is no glucose uptake because you don't have an excess of nutrients. There is no glycogen synthesis because you don't need it now. In the liver, there is a production of keto compounds, ketogenesis. These ketones are good for your brain and for energy, and they are a second fuel to have more energy. Protein breakdown, proteins that are no longer needed, and many of the cells, autophagy mechanisms. There is a reduced size, you lose fat, you lose weight, you lose visceral fat. Gluconeogenesis is activated due to the amino acids that can produce glucose, and in the adipose tissue, you activate you inhibit fatty acid oxidation. So you use your adipose tissue that is needed to repair many mechanisms, and you start inhibiting lipogenesis and excessive glucose uptake. So that's what happens here. It is being allowed of the fatty acid oxidation, and you have time to use the adipose tissue for what it is for, not for storage, but to sense and use other nutrients. All of these things are being done by the amazing suppression of too much activity of these mTOR mechanisms by fasting, just by doing that. Or also exercise produces many of these same results. So I hope that you have understand these processes. I hope that you have understand that this mTOR regulating and patrolling system is extremely helpful. And I hope that you can use all of this knowledge to help other people, to prevent diseases, to know more your internal mechanisms, and to help people alleviate many of these chronic diseases. Thank you very much for your attention. Of course, I always encourage you to give me a like, give me comments, support me in my website. There is a link in the upper side of my website to donate and to support my message, because this information and this work that I use, that I do, that I just give away, it's a way of helping people that need to understand more their internal mechanisms, their body, and use it in favor of having a much better lifespan and health span. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a wonderful day. We will listen to each other, subscribe to the channel, and support me in any way possible. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode. Bye.